Hey Sandy, how you doing? Hey everyone, hey D Hernandez, WEZ, how was your day, Sandy? Thank you so much to everybody who's joining. I see people on the web that are joining in. I can't actually see you, but thank you for joining. I'm Lakeisha Riddick. I am an online blogger and online talk radio show host of Share My World Show. I had a great day today. Thank you. So welcome. Hey, Pruitt twins. I don't know which one, Marla or Marcia. Thanks for joining. And for people that are joining on the replay, thank you for joining. You can share, and everybody can share with their followers on Periscope or on Twitter. Swipe to the right on Apple or swipe up on Android and share away. Give hearts if you like the content. And again, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. So how's everybody else been doing? If anybody else joined in. And if you're new to my scope, please tell me your name. Hey Marla, how you doing? You caught me live. Thank you for joining. If anybody else has joined in, you could tell me your name and where you're scoping from, and so I can greet you properly. Let me get this set up right. So anyway, the topic of the scope tonight, thank you. The little twist out action here. So tonight's scope, I'm talking about whose report will you believe? Any old school church folk on the scope tonight? I don't know if you remember the song. Hey, thanks for inviting some followers. Yes, you can invite the followers. You Apple, swipe right. And hey, Diva Sheeta 18, thank you for joining. So anybody from old school church on the scope tonight? Follow me long enough, you know I got a song for you. You want to hear it? Here it go. Always talk about having some theme music, something that will uplift you, encourage you, to help you be motivated and keep you motivated during your day. So, hey, Experience Fancy, thanks for joining in. Appreciate it. So today's theme music is entitled Whose Report Will You Believe by Ron Canoli. I want you to Google it. I'm not going to try to sing it. Hey, Variant Brandon, thanks for joining. I'm not going to try to sing it, but I want to tell you the lyrics. Like I said, anybody out there, old school church, remember this? This was a hand clapping song right here, I tell you. It was hand clapping. You was getting down and praising the Lord with this song. Okay. Hey, PT trainer, Shonda, thanks for joining. It goes, whose report will you believe? We shall believe the report of the Lord. That's what this is saying. It's saying we are going to believe the report of the Lord. And it says his report, says I am healed. His report says I am filled. His report says I am free. His report says victory. So we're supposed to believe the report of the Lord. So what are the other kind of reports that we get? So when I was thinking about the scope, again, I scope about my life, my faith weight loss journey, I call it. It's not just about me losing the weight. It's actually me releasing the weights that I have been holding on to, fear, rejection, lack of faith, low self-esteem. Those things have been keeping me living like a depressed life, not the life that God has for me. So as God is transforming me from the inside out, the weights of pounds are being released because of my obedience. Thank you so much for the hearts. So when I thought about it, I said, well, what's this context here in terms of my journey and then also in life? Whose report are you going to believe? Yes, PT trainer Shonda. This is good already, confirming some thoughts from this evening. Great. Well, I also believe that anybody who joins in my scope, again, yes, I'm laying aside every weight. That's one of my declarations that I actually declare, Hebrews 12, 1 through 2. So I wanted to say that I believe that people that join in my scope, people that follow me, yes, it's not just physical. No, well, you know it, Marla, get your mind right. And I'm getting my mind right, reprogramming daily. Hey, Tiffany L. Bethia. So that's what I scope about, my life and this journey, which is a faith journey for me as well. So, hey, so when I was talking about it, when I was thinking about it today, I said, hey, what kind of reports do we get that we don't want to believe, right? And most of them are negative reports, something bad. A lot of times we'll think about, yes, it's about recalibrating the soul. Actually, exactly. And I'm on day 128 of this journey, and I'm still being reprogrammed. I look at myself as the butterfly. I don't know what stage I'm in yet. I think I've passed the egg stage, probably in the caterpillar stage, or maybe in the chrysalis. I don't know where God has me, but I know when I get to that butterfly stage, I am zooming to the moon, okay? I am going out and not only just flying and soaring, but I'm going to help and reproduce other people to help them in their journey, because that's my thing. I want to be free. Okay, I'm going to reveal more. You can follow my blog at Share My World Show. You can do a Google search for it. And I'm going to do, so I've been doing little check-ins on my blog in terms of the weight loss, and on Instagram as well. But hey, I am Miss Coleman. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the other people that joined in. And I'm going to do another before and during, I call it transformation picture, on my birthday, September 5th. I'm going to do another one. So please follow me and check in. Thanks so much for the hearts, everybody. I appreciate it. For those who just joined in, I'm Lakeisha Riddick, online blogger and online talk radio show host of Share My World Show. Follow me on all social media, my blog, and my YouTube channels. If you want to check out any of my Periscopes that may have expired, I uploaded them to YouTube, so you can check them out. So the three things that I thought about tonight, in order to help us to be able to believe God's report, we have to do three things. We have to inspect, we have to participate, and we have to expect, right? So again, some of those reports that we can get, and I think sometimes we ignore the facts. If you're a believer out there, hey, D. Edwards, thanks for joining. Sometimes you get so spiritual, I think too spiritual for your own good. You know, God didn't put us on earth as robots. He gave us minds. He gave us free will. But he wants us to, like I said, number two, participate in this process, not just go around as like Manchurian candidates, you know, that kind of thing. So I think about some reports, right? What about like if a person, you know, got that note in the door saying their house is being foreclosed on? Are you just going to just say, oh, God, thank you, you're going to deliver me from this foreclosure? No, you have to do something, right? Okay, what about if you got a cancer diagnosis or whatever, and you're just saying, oh no, God is just going to heal me. Now, listen, I'm not saying God cannot heal you without any other interventions, but what I'm saying to you is you have to be wise, and you have to make sure you have a relationship with God. Yes, faith without works is dead, and you're hearing from God about what you need to do. And from the research that I've done, not only for my own life and just things that I've seen in the Bible, I'm going to share a little bit later, it requires some kind of participation with you, whether it is just your faith or whether it is, you know, some you know, actions or whatever, but it's really going to be both. Okay, so I'm just going to share a couple of things about my journey. And again, I share my world with you guys in hopes that you will see how God is helping me, this ordinary girl following an extraordinary God. Thanks true to his nature for joining, and that you're able to see how God has helped me to overcome, and then you can overcome as well, and then you go and share your story with others. It's the same thing. It's just me being blessed to be a blessing. That's how I look at it. So I think about some things that happened in my life where I got bad reports, and how did I respond, and then how did God respond? Because usually that's the disconnect, right? You know, we get some bad news, then we either ignore them or we go to the dark side and, you know, just stay in fear. Thanks so much for the hearts. So my father, he had cancer. Found out my freshman year in college, right before I went, and I was praying. I was in the church, you know, saved since 12, praying, believing God, declaring scriptures and everything. And unfortunately, right after I finished my freshman year, I came home and he died like a few days later. So totally devastated. And hey, single lady, DT, my relationship with God changed at that point, even though I didn't want it to change, right? But here's the thing. Later on, as God has been helping me to deal with this, I had to learn that my father actually was healed in a way that it wasn't the way I wanted him to be healed, because absent from the body, present with the Lord, right? My father was a believer as well. Thank you so much for the hearts. But I had put God in a box about how I had wanted him to heal my dad. My father wasn't suffering anymore. And again, he was with the Lord. So that was one thing. And that's a lesson, you know, that I had to learn. And I'm hoping that, you know, you find some inspiration and encouragement with that as well. Something else. Okay, I got married in July of 1997, and then that following year, in December of 1998, I found out I had a diagnosis of sleep apnea. I did a sleep study. I don't know if anybody else knows what sleep apnea is where you go to sleep and you stop breathing in your sleep. So I didn't know that I had it. I just knew that I was always falling asleep at work. I knew that I was falling asleep when I was driving. I just thought I was tired. I didn't know that it was an actual diagnosis. Met with the doctor, one of the best ENT specialists here in Atlanta, and he said, you know what, your case is so bad that you need to have surgery, and your surgery will be like, I had to get like a tracheotomy, cut something in the epiglottis thing in the back. I don't know these terms. Fix a deviated septum, and all of these different things. And based on the information, it was just going to be a 50% treatment. It wasn't a cure. There is no cure for sleep apnea. You can get a CPAP machine, and even that, when they had did a sleep study for me, the pressure from the CPAP machine was so great. I was like, I feel like I'm choking. So this was the alternative. My husband, he said, I don't think you should do this surgery. And I'm like, well, hello. They said that I could just not wake up one morning. Make a long story short, that was like our first kind of I would say heated discussion. And we went to counseling. Yes, we did, with the pastors at the time. And I remember our pastor said, you know what, why don't you believe God for your healing? But I'm thinking, hello, I need this surgery. And he said, well, because let me back it up. For sleep apnea, the case that I had, it was really about weight, because of a lot of the weight being in the neck area and preventing, you from breathing. So the doctor just dismissed the fact that I could lose any significant amount of weight so that it would decrease the apnea. But my husband said, well, why don't you try to lose, some weight? We can work on that or whatever. I didn't think it. The doctor didn't think it was possible. But I tell you what, God was faithful, because I was able to lose, and I didn't do any strict diet or anything, but I was able to lose some weight, and my apnea, ceased. I was, because, my husband would say, no, you're not, not breathing in your sleep anymore like that. You're not snoring as loudly. So again, he was another area that if I would have just believed that report and not looked at what God says, that by his stripes that I'm healed, and actively participating in doing something, it would have been a different outcome. Another one I'd say is my first pregnancy, because of the weight issues. Thanks so much for the hearts. Thank you for the hearts. I do appreciate it. And because I had been so overweight, do you see, this is an issue. I don't know if anybody else is dealing with this or not, but because I had been so overweight, my cycles were like totally irregular, and to the point that I didn't get any. Now, I actually like that. I actually have a cycle, right? I mean, who really enjoys a cycle? But when I got married and we were talking about having children, I'm thinking, well, I need one. So I talked to my OBGYN, and he was just like, well, you may be ovulating, you may not be ovulating, and you can get pregnant, you may not can get pregnant. And I'm thinking, wow, this is messed up. Again, these are things that you don't think about until it's time for you to move and take action. So I remember we were praying about it, seeing what we should do or whatever. And, obviously you have to do certain things to get to get pregnant, but we never stopped doing our part. That's the thing I'm telling you, right? So I did an inspection, meaning I found out what the issues were in terms of me. So my doctor also gave me medicine to bring on my periods. So, hey, Pink Dazzle 08, how are you doing? Thanks so much for joining. So, hey, Miss Sherelle, thanks for joining. So I'm Lakeisha Riddick, online blogger, online talk radio show host. Thank you for joining. And you could always go back and catch the beginning of this replay to get some of the details that I shared. I'm talking about whose report will you believe, and 3 things that we have to do in order to believe God's report, because that's whose report we're supposed to believe. I said inspect, I said participate, and expect. And I was just sharing a story. Hey, El Moniz, thank you for joining. And I was just sharing about my issues with infertility in the beginning of my marriage because of my weight issues, because I wasn't getting a cycle. But again, because my doctor gave me some medicine to bring on a period, and we believed by faith that this is what we wanted children, I was able to conceive. And even with my second child, we had some issues where we were not conceiving. I had to take medicine and take some fertility medicine and stuff like that, but it didn't work. But we still believed, you see. So there's still issues on our part that we have to do to participate. And then the final thing I'll say is my oldest son, when he was in kindergarten, he was having these difficult behavior problems at school. At least that's what we were being told. I mean, I don't know anybody else out there have children. So we were getting, this is our first child, so we put him in one of the best, hey Regina McClay, thank you so much for joining. So we put him in one of the best private Christian schools here, and we were so excited. And then all of a sudden, I'm just getting day after day all of these reports, and they were doing a color chart. So he would be on red almost every day. I mean, I think I almost had a nervous breakdown over that, because it was almost every day something was wrong. And we were just like, what's going on here? What's going on? So we were trying to figure it out. They kept saying, well, he has a diagnosis of ADD, ADHD. And we were like, okay, well, let's investigate. Went to our pediatrician, he was getting speech therapy at the time. Nobody would agree with this diagnosis. So they gave us alternatives to try to work things out. The school was really not working with us on these things. Yeah, they are trying to diagnose the kids. I mean, not to say that there are not valid diagnoses, but again, you have to do your part. You're right, Ms. Sherelle, to figure out what is going on with your child. And for us, we were able to figure it out because they kept pushing so hard for him to be medicated in order for him to be a student at their school. And even though all the professionals, we even went to a psychologist who was giving us wisdom about what we needed to do based on the information that the teachers shared and what we shared. And even the psychologist was just like, no, I don't see this. Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Again, coupled with our faith, we still were doing something. We weren't just heads in the sand like, oh, our child is just, great, no problems. So what I'm telling you is, hey, T. Martin Blue 88, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Please go back to the beginning and you can check out the replay. I appreciate you for joining me. I'm Lakeisha Riddick, online blogger, talk show, radio show host of Share My World Show. And thank you for joining. So we were able to finally, we had a meeting with the school. I'm making the long story short here. He had a meeting with the school, and the school basically, I would say, gave us an ultimatum. They said that in order for him to be a student at the school, he would need to be medicated. And I remember we walked out the school. My husband said he's not going back. And that's pretty much started my homeschool experience with that child. I did it for 2 years with him. I'm homeschooling the rest of the kids now. Hey, Coach May, thank you for joining. My oldest son now is 15. I have an 11-year-old and I'm a 4-year-old. So again, I'm saying for me, that this is God's way of saying for us to participate. And lastly, I'll say, as far as the report, I don't know if any of you guys have been following me. Yes, it was a Christian school. It was. And I'll tell you this, the school was in existence for 60-something years. They had their own ways. They had their own, and unfortunately, this is just my opinion, a lot of the black boys, it was a predominantly white school. I'm not saying that this is how it works all the time, but a lot of the black boys were in the principal's office often. So I don't know if they have been medicated or if they were just being singled out. Yes, it's unfortunate, and I will always say, be an advocate for your child first. Try to figure out what's going on and be an advocate, because later on, after we, have removed him, we found out that, this wasn't a good fit for him. That's another piece of advice. Don't just look for a good fit for a school for you. Make sure it's a good fit for your child. However they're learning, whatever the environment needs to be, make that, your main focus. Because when we saw the kids there, at 2-year-olds walking with their hands behind their back, hey, Natural Happy, thank you for joining. And we were just like, oh, we want our child to be like that. So well behaved, so perfect or whatever. But our son was not like that. He's a kinesthetic learner. He's a boy, number one. He's active. And, yes, kids learn different. Not everyone knows how to adapt and teach accordingly. That is very true. But again, you as a parent, you have to know your child. And you have to advocate for your child because nobody else is going to do it. So the last thing I was going to share about myself in terms of having a good report, a bad report, or just having a report in general is this month of August, I am doing this challenge with Black women losing weight, and it's called the Write It Down Challenge and the Work It Out Challenge. We have different exercises to do for like 6 days out of the week, and the big thing is to track our food and drink. Man, I did not want to do it. See those words? I didn't want to do it. Why didn't I want to do it? It was fear. Fear of, number one, thanks for the hearts, figuring out, well, was my meals that bad? Number two, I blog daily. Thank you, Coach. I blog daily. And I'm like, I have to post this and everybody's going to see what I'm eating and see that some of that rejection coming in, people pleasing coming in. I mean, thank you so much for the hearts. It was so much stuff going on in my mind that I never thought about the benefits of it. Again, when you allow yourself to, hey, D. DeRogar, thanks for joining. And you can always go back and check the replay to get everything from the beginning. Thanks, Dr. Shara from Singapore, I think, right? I hope I'm right with that, Dr. Shara. So, needless to say, God helped me to track. And I have been finding out so much information about myself that is helpful for me on this journey. Number one, I have a history of heart disease in my family, so I need to be mindful of cholesterol. And hey, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining me again. And about sodium content, right? So I've been seeing a lot of foods that I was eating were high in sodium. So I'm able to, monitor that, make different choices. It's not, again, about the fear, making choices based out of fear, but making choices based out of faith. So it's no problem. I knew what you meant, Dr. Shara. Thanks again for joining. And again, you can go back to the replay and hear everything from the beginning if you like, because I'll be ending a little shortly here. I talked about whose report will you believe, and really I'm talking about whose report, meaning God's report, are you going to believe. So some biblical examples, and this is, like I said, where I kind of took my notes from to say for myself about how God wants us to respond are, think about the woman with the issue of blood. It was 12 years she suffered, right? Now, how does she know she had an issue of blood? Well, yes, she had her experience, but yes, she went to the doctor probably, and the doctor said, I can't do anything for you. So for 12 years she suffered. She probably tried this remedy. She probably tried that remedy. But she was doing something. But guess what? The ultimate participation that she did, right? So she inspected, meaning she found out that she had this issue, right? The second thing she did was participate. She found out Jesus was coming to town. What did she do? She went there and touched him. She did something. She did not just sit back and just say, oh, Lord, just change this, stop this bleeding. And as soon as she touched him, she risked her life really doing it, because we know during those times, if you were unclean, meaning on your cycle, you weren't supposed to be around men. She touched him and then it stopped, right? Yes, blood sugar changes alertness, so decreased sugar, increased clarity, and ability to hear spirit. Yes, absolutely, Dr. Shara. So yeah, and I'm being mindful of all of these things because I'm using MyFitnessPal to track my meals, and I'm going to be able to actually see, over this month, what my daily nutrition, count or makeup is going to be, so I can kind of readjust. And I'm excited about that because I'm able to empower myself to make healthier choices. Yes, and you use MyFitnessPal too to track your meals. It's pretty great if you ask me. I mean, you can do it on your phone, you can do it on a computer, and they have almost everything in there. And then since I'm at home most often, I'm able to look on the labels and enter the stuff in there, even use it for my recipes, compiling everything together and doing serving sizes. So that's one example with the woman with the issue of blood. Another one is, how about the woman who's the widow with the oil? If you know that story is based in, I think it's 2 Kings, the 4th chapter. But just do a Google search on it. And remember, when people tell you something about the Bible, go look it up for yourself to read it. Even me. Get your own revelation from it, okay? So the woman she was the widow with the oil, her her story was that, thank you so much for the hearts, that she didn't have anything else, and that they were going to come and get her sons, and that, or she was just going to die. She didn't have anything else. So the prophet, right, he said to her, I'm trying to get the exact things. He said, she was like, I want you to do something for me, right? And he said, what shall I do for you? This is 2 Kings 4th chapter. He said, what should I do for you? Tell me, what do you have in your house? Ding, inspect. You may have something in your house. You may have something in your hand that may be able to change your condition, to change your situation, right? So, and I looked at that, I said, wow, here she was in debt, afraid that they were going to take her children as slaves. Thank you so much for the hearts. But she inspected, right? Then, if you know the story, he told her, he said she only had a jar of oil. He said, go out and get as many, borrow from everybody in the neighborhood, get jars, as many jars as you can. Now, here's something else here as far as your faith. She could have got a gazillion, million, jillion jars, right? As much as her faith would have allowed, right? But if she were thinking, she could have been thinking, oh, I'm just going to get one. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to let them know my situation. But the way that the story unfolds is that she got enough jars, right? So that when she took her one little jar of oil that she did have and poured it in there, that the oil kept going and kept filling all those jars until the last jar was filled, and then it stopped. She was able to go and sell all those jars of oil, right, to pay off the debt that, I guess her husband had owed, and then be able to do what? To live off the rest. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? That's what I'm talking about in terms of you being able to inspect, right? Find out what your current situation is, and then participate in it, meaning do something, physically or spiritually, activate that. Thank you for the hearts. And then the third thing, expect. She had to believe that what he was telling her to do was going to work. What if she would have said, are you kidding me? I'm not embarrassing myself to go and ask somebody for some jars. I don't think so. And then the last biblical example I wanted to give you, and if you know this story, is of Naaman. Naaman, thank you so much, P trainer Shonda. It's the Naaman. This story is in 2 Kings also, and it's the 5th chapter. Naaman was a commander in the army, and he had leprosy. Leprosy, your skin is all white and everything. So, he found out about a prophet, and he was healed. So my encouragement to you is, no matter what report that you have, no matter what report, that's been given to you that may be considered negative, don't run away from it. I'm not saying manifest it and, sit down and dwell on it and worry about it. But you know what? Say, okay, this is what the report says, but you know what? I'm going to do something different. So with the inspection, so the participate portion is you have to activate your faith and work. So you got to find scriptures, right? Thank you for the hearts. Find the scriptures that speak opposite to those situations. Now, if it's a sickness issue, what God says that by his stripes we are healed, right? So you should not. Now I'm going to get to some good stuff here, right? Now you got to declare those over your life. Amen. Yes, Coach May. You got to take whatever action God is telling you. I told you about my story. This is what God was telling me and my husband to do. Now you have to go do what God tells you to do. See, in these stories, God told, Naaman to go dunk himself 7 times. That may seem weird for me because he didn't tell me to do that. He told the prophet told the widow with the oil, go borrow some jars. He could have told, me to do something else or whatever. But again, if you have a relationship with God and you have that clarity, he'll be able to tell you what to do. And then finally, expect. You got to believe that what God is saying in his word is true and his plans are good for you. You have to trust him. You can't sit back and just say, well, oh yeah, I think I'm going to believe it, but really not believe it. Thank you so much for the hearts. And don't put him in a box. Like I said for my dad, I prayed, I believed, I said, declared, I said, yes, God, you're going to heal my dad. Yes, yes, yes. The blood of Jesus. Yes, yes, yes. And he did not heal him the way that I thought he was. And so I was angry with God for a while. Trust and be patient. Yes, I was very angry with God for a while because he didn't heal my father the way that I thought he would. But God never said that he was going to heal my father the way that I thought he would. He just said, by his stripes we are healed. Healed can mean anything. And when I had to come to realize later that my father being absent from the body, this body that was suffering, this body that had been ridden with cancer that had spread all over, and him being with the Lord meant what? He was free. Okay? So don't do it. Don't put him in a box. And something else I wanted to say finally, I talked about this with my husband, and we always talk about this in terms of knowing, your report, knowing your status, knowing your current situation. Thank you for the hearts. And we've actually read a story about this. I don't know if I didn't look for it before I came on tonight, but you probably could look for it, or maybe you might even have a situation where that this is happening. Debt is a big negative report, right? Nobody wants to be in debt. Nobody wants to really acknowledge it. I mean, some people take all their bills, throw it in that junk drawer, and never look at it. And what does that do? Zero. It does not change the debt. It does not make it go away. I don't care how much you pray, oh, Lord, clear my debt. You got to do something about it. And so my husband and I were talking, and one of the things that we said was, hey, Sherm Cloud, thanks for joining back again. I appreciate you following me. So one of the things that we talked about was, because it was a story where a couple of business people were meeting, and this millionaire was there at the meeting, right? And he went and asked the couple, well, how much debt do you owe? He said, how much debt do you owe, down to the penny? And they gave an amount, and he said, you know what? I'm going to write a check for that debt. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing, because what if they were wrong? What if they did not inspect? What if they didn't know how much debt they were actually in? Let me tell you something. You could be in debt for, $25,623.21, right? And somebody comes and pays that for you. But what if you were really in debt for $52,199.15? Because you were so ashamed, fearful, whatever else you want to put in there to look and inspect at where you were, you wouldn't be blessed. God wants to get the glory. And how's he going to get the glory if you don't know where you're at? You don't know where you're starting from. Even from my weight loss journey, the pounds being released, I had to start somewhere. Yes, there are non-scale victories. Yes, there are. Thank you for the hearts. But I had to start somewhere. When I started April 20th, 2015, 280 pounds. Yes, that's a lot of weight for a 5'4" inch frame. But I can see the progress, not just, on the scale. Thank you for the hearts. But on the how clothes fit, my little pictures and stuff that I'm doing. But again, God is getting the glory because I started somewhere. I shared where I was. I didn't just ignore it. I didn't say, I don't know how much I weigh. So I encourage you, know your situation, inspect. Participate, activate your faith and your works, find your scriptures and do that. Really do that in the mornings before you get on the phone and do anything else. And then right before you go to bed. Thanks for the hearts again. And then finally, expect, meaning believe that God's plans for you are good. Jeremiah 29:11 is very good, where he says, for his plans for us, right? He knows his plans for us are plans to prosper us, plans for our good. So just believe it and know that your report, the report that you're going to believe, is God's report, no matter what the other situation is. So again, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for following me. Check me out on all social media. Again, Share My World Show. And if you want to check out the other Periscopes that I've done, I've uploaded them to my YouTube channel under Share My World Show. And I appreciate you. So I hope you gleaned something tonight that was able to inspire you for your life, to help you overcome, as God has helped me to overcome as well. Because yes, you're welcome, Coach May. Thank you so much for following me. I'm a work in progress and God is perfecting me. So I'm praying that he's perfecting you. So thank you for sharing my world. Now go and share your world with others. Have a blessed evening. Thank you.